5 and 6, me, Mr. A, back with story time for another day, carrying on with Tom's Midnight Garden, and chapter 19, next Saturday. They all sat round the breakfast table, Alan Kitson with his newspaper, his wife with a long letter from her sister, Tom's mother, Tom himself with a letter from Peter. Tom read his letter with one hand curved round the top to prevent any, even accidental, overlooking. Dear Tom, beware. Mother is writing to Aunt Gwen to say can you come home at the end of the week, and this time you really are to. I think Mother will say you must come because I miss you so much, but I don't want you to come away. I like all you write in your letters. Tell me some more. I wish I were there, but Mother and Father say no. I wish we had more trees and a river near and a high wall. I wish I were there. Yours, Pete. Tom sighed. He would have liked to bring Peter, if only for a little, to reach of his wishes. Tom looked back to the beginning of the letter. Beware. But what can children do against their elders' decisions for them, and especially their parents? You are to come home at the end of the week. And this, Tom looked at the top of Uncle Alan's newspaper, this was Tuesday. He supposed that they would be suggesting Saturday or Sunday for his return. Aunt Gwen put down her letter and smiled at Tom, but sadly. Well, Tom, so we must really say goodbye to you soon. When? Said Tom abruptly. On Saturday. There's a cheap train on Saturday morning, and your mother says you can go by train, now that you're out of quarantine. Next Saturday, said Tom. So soon? His uncle said suddenly, We shall miss you, Tom. Then he looked surprised, almost annoyed at what he had said. Aunt Gwen said, Your father and mother send their special love, Tom, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Your mother says that Peter has been missing you very much. He pines and daydreams without you. He needs you. We could hardly expect to keep you longer with us here, unless we adopted you. If they adopted him, Tom thought, he could stay here. But on the other hand, he wouldn't have his own family anymore. His mother, his father, and Peter. Tom felt a tightness round his ribs, as though he were being squeezed apart there. He wanted two different sets of things so badly. He wanted his mother and father and Peter and home. He really did want them, badly. And on the other hand, he wanted the garden. If you adopted me, Tom began, slowly and painfully. I was only joking, Tom, said his aunt, thinking to reassure him. So she did, in part, for Tom had not at all wanted to become the Kitson's child and to stop belonging to his own family. But all the same, some desperate remedy must be found for his new desperate situation. He knew from Peter's letter and from the way his aunt had spoken that he had no further hope of prolonging his stay here, not by postponements, not by chills, not even by adoption. They had said Saturday morning, and that was that. Next Saturday. Perhaps next year, his aunt was saying, you'll come again and spend part of your summer holiday with us. Tom could not answer her and thank her, because next year was so far away, and the feeling round his heart, here and now, was so bad when he thought of going, so bad that one might have said his heart was nearly breaking. All that morning Tom seemed to hear the ticking of the grandfather clock, bringing Saturday, minute by minute, nearer and nearer. He hated the clock for that. Then he would remember that this very night the grandfather clock was to give up its secret, when Hattie unfastened the doors. What the secret might be, Tom could not even dimly guess, yet he had a strange feeling of its importance, and he found himself setting a faint hope upon it, his only hope. For that reason he longed for the minutes and hours to pass quickly until tonight. Time was so long from now until then, so short from now until Saturday. That afternoon Tom wrote to Peter about the garden, with a hopefulness he did not really feel. He promised to write more tomorrow. Then, to get away from the ticking of the clock, he went out for a walk with his aunt. He had asked whether or not there was a river flowing nearby, and she had thought so, and she could find it for him. They walked among back streets, turning this way and that, until Tom lost all sense of direction. They came to a bridge. Here's your river, Tom, said Aunt Gwen triumphantly. It must be the same river, although it looked neither like the stretch Tom had glimpsed from Hattie's window, nor like the one he and Hattie had reached through their meadow by the garden hedge. This river no longer flowed beside meadows. It had back garden strips on one side and an asphalt path on the other. There was a man fishing by the bridge, and Aunt Gwen called to him, Have you caught any fish? There aren't any fish, the man replied sourly. He stood by a notice and said, Warning, the council takes no responsibility for persons bathing, wading or paddling. These waters have been certified as unsuitable for such purposes owing to pollution. What's pollution? Tom asked. I know it means that the river isn't pure and healthy anymore, said Aunt Gwen. It's something to do with all the houses that have been built and the factories. Dreadful stuff gets into rivers from factories, I believe. Tom looked at the river water. It did not look foul, but he saw that the weeds below the surface of the water, instead of being slim and green and shiny, were clothed in a kind of dingy brown fur. There were no geese about, nor any waterfowl. There certainly seemed to be no fish. On the other hand, there was a large quantity of broken glass, crockery and empty tins dimly to be seen on the riverbed. Can't you bathe or paddle anywhere? Asked Tom. There's bathing at Castleford. This river flows down to Castleford, you know. To Castleford, Ely, King's Lynn and the sea, said Tom. Why, yes, Tom, said his aunt, rather surprised. How did you come to know that piece of geography? Someone told me, Tom said reservedly. What is the time, please? Nearly 4 o'clock. Was that all? They walked home again, there being nothing more of anything to see. As they came in through the front door of the big house, the first thing Tom heard was the ticking of the grandfather clock. It would tick on to bedtime, and in that way time was Tom's friend. But after that, it would tick on to Saturday, and in that way time was Tom's enemy. Chapter 20. The Angel Speaks. And we'll leave it there. We'll start chapter 20 and find out the secrets it has to offer tomorrow. In the meantime, have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.